Hi, this is Bobby at Copel TV Repair. Today, looking at a somewhat non-standard case of a board that came for repair and raising the topics about how to handle such situations. So, normally before we do anything with a board, before we test it in a live circuit, we inspect it to see whether there is some apparent signs of something that is not right, that may cause additional trouble or make the whole live testing pointless. Human interventions, apparent burnout marks, physical cracks, chemical damage, tons of stuff that you can see if you're experiencing the field. In this particular case, what we noticed was this darkening here. And that is a burnout sign, it looks like. And then when we go back, this is grounding point. And when we go back on the back, this is straight out of the box. This is a line that seems to be ground line, because that's where this gets to the chassis of the TV. And this is burned. That usually happens through overcurrent. So I think someone shorted out on the front side here. Somebody passed here either high AC or high DC somehow. And that board shorted. The main fuse looks good. It says good. And actually the customer note on the board says, when they send it for repair, that the TV does have a standby light, which means that the essential functionality of that circuit, of that board, will be fine. And here's the problem that it presents, and the reason I'm making this video. So apparently this board does have a problem. It's an unusual problem, most likely either human-induced or power surge caused, even though I don't think it's going to be power surge, because there will be something more visibly blown on that board. Why would it short right here at this connection if it was? But let's say that it was, and I'm not thinking of all the possibilities. So here's the problem that we're facing. There is a good possibility that this is the only problem with that board. Now, we cannot in good consciousness return that board. The grounding between that point here and that point here is interrupted. There is no other connection. I checked that. I can do it for your sake as well. But so if I test here, you can hear it is beeping and it's shorted. But if I test here, there's nobody, of course, because the line is interrupted. If I test here, so there is no good grounding of that board, and that can create all kind of problems related to the TV. So that's something that needs to be fixed. But at the same time, there is a good possibility that the rest of the board, I did some preliminary inspections on other circuits and points, and of course I may turn out to be wrong. We will find out once we connected it, but there is a good possibility this board may be working. So there is a good possibility the only thing that this board would need was to have that grounding wire restored. Does that constitute a repair? And if that stopped the board from working, maybe there is a different problem elsewhere in the TV and the customer will not be having a working TV. So this is something that we need to communicate back. This is the reason I'm raising this case for those in electronic repairs. There will be times and there will be cases where whatever you do, it may not be enough because there is another problem. And there will be cases like this one where what you seem to have to do, and of course this can change as we do it and go and do full testing, but it may turn out that the only thing that you have to do is just run a wire. That's a very unusual problem. So what's the right problem to do? If you do flat rate repairs, you will have to justify running a single wire for a flat rate of whatever it is, 50, 67, whatever your flat rate is. And then you're still having the risk, because that is unusual burn. That's high current. Whatever happened here, it may have affected something else on that board or elsewhere in the TV. So the only proper way, I believe, to handle those is to communicate all that through the customer. And that is inconvenient because it involves communications and explanations and going back and forth. And it's one of the reasons I'm making this video. Instead of doing all those, I will just send the customer the video. Customer may know what caused that, because I suspect it is human-induced. Somebody poking around and searching for a problem may have caused that. And they will have to decide what they want to do, get it that way or send it back the way it is. It's part of the business. You have to communicate those. You have to wait for their decision, even though this is definitely something that needs to be taken care of before even proceeding further. Once we start that, there is no going back. We cannot return the board to the customer anymore with no service fee because we would have worked on it. And that is what the problem is. Okay, so communicating with the customer, whether you have it or not, and there will be such cases. Hope you did learn something new. If not, well, maybe next time. Good luck.